100 years ago, abortion was illegal. In the early days of maternal feminism, Canadian feminists rejected abortion, feeling that women had their role to play in society, and it was a feminine role. Canada banned abortion in 1869. 8 years later, Canada's second female doctor, Emily Stowe, went to trial over contravention of the abortion law. Stowe defended her actions by claiming that a pregnant unwed teen had come to her and claimed she would commit suicide if she had to have this baby. Stowe gave her drugs that would abort the baby. However, the doses were so low that she could not have possibly aborted the baby with it. Shortly after, the young teen had committed suicide and taken the baby with her. This trial set an important precedent. The physician was not held responsible for the actions of their clients. This would happen again in 1952 when Dr. Leon Azoulay performed an illegal operation. The woman, known as Mrs. P, died during the abortion from hemorrhaging. A lower court found him guilty of manslaughter. However, after it went to the Supreme Court, the decision was overturned as the jury had been unduly influenced. No real wins for abortion, just technical legal matters. 10 years later, Morton Schulman, the chief coroner of Ontario, released a report on abortion. In it, he claimed that wealthy women were having abortions to the amount of 20 to 30 a week per doctor. Those who could not afford abortion were using less reliable measures, like consuming vast amounts of Lysol cleaner. Over half of women who attempted poisoning themselves to get rid of a pregnancy died. A couple of years later, in 1967, Pierre Elliott Trudeau, as Minister of Justice, made an amendment to the criminal code to allow for abortions. These abortions would only be permitted if the woman's health was in danger and only if a panel of 3 doctors agreed. The bill wouldn't pass until Trudeau was Prime Minister in 1969. Worth mentioning, this bill also legalized homosexuality and contraceptives. However, the law was very imprecise. What constitutes health in danger? Does a person like Emily Stowe's teen mom who threatened suicide count? And how long do you have to wait for that 3-doctor panel to show up before you can save someone's life? In 1975, the Badgley Report came out on abortion and found provinces were providing services inequitably. For provinces like PEI, which has a doctor shortage, finding that 3-doctor panel wasn't always possible, whereas in provinces like Ontario, abortion was readily available in specialized clinics. The report concluded that abortion was not being carried out as required by the law. In 1982, the only therapeutic abortion committee, formal name for 3 doctors, was closed in PEI, and no abortions will be happening in PEI until 2016. Similarly, in Newfoundland, there was only a single official performing abortions. In total, 4,000 Canadian women left Canada for the United States to have abortions. Upon returning, they brought with them American feminism. These women now saw that women, rather than doctors, should decide whether they should have an abortion. They believe they have a right to their body, and only they can say what should to their body. Now in Canada, there was no right to your body. The statement has been regarded by politicians and philosophers as being semantically problematic. Who, for example, is the your when referring to your body? Are you not the body? 1982 was also another important year, the patriation of Canada's Constitution. This saw women's activists yelling, "My rights, my body." Many would interpret the right to security of self as being similar to the Americans' right to one's body. However, no court has ever agreed with this. The hero that would make abortion what it is today was an unusual source, a Quebec doctor by the name of Henry Montgentalvet. His name's impossible to pronounce. He opened a private clinic in which he publicly claimed to perform as many as 5,000 abortions starting in 1973. This led to the Abortion Caravan, in which 36 women chained themselves to Parliament, shutting down government for one day. Montgentalvet was jailed for 18 months. Once he got out, he saw the spirit of the movement and opened clinics across the country, specifically to challenge the laws across the country. In 1988, Montgentellet would be sued again, with his list of doctors and associates performing the abortions. A Supreme Court judge ruled that Trudeau's law was in contravention of Section 7, which states, "Everyone has the right to life, liberty, and the security of the person, and the right not to deprive thereof except in accordance with the principles of fundamental justice." However, most justices did not agree with this. Instead, they just simply agreed that the process itself was broken and did not allow for abortion to happen. The bill was handed off to Brian Mulroney's PC government to amend the Constitution to fix the procedural problems with the bill. The bill would have to be designed in a way to provide access to all women who qualified for abortions. 2 attempts were made at passing the laws. These would be deeply divisive. The first attempt made the qualification a matter of how long the mother has been pregnant. Universal access would be given to women before 3 months of pregnancy, as decided by a single medical professional. However, those who wanted universal abortions with no restrictions and those who didn't want abortion at all united to vote the bill down. Deep divisions in the PC party led to an unprecedented vote against the party. A year later, in 1989, a second law came forward, simply removing the 3-doctor committee from the law. At the time, the media was reporting a large number of home abortions being carried out with coat hangers. After Yvonne Jurczewicz died from a botched coat hanger abortion, public opinion shifted against this law. Mulroney had to whip his cabinet to pass the bill by only 9 votes. This was in a majority PC government. However, the Senate had not passed the bill. Every day, news stories were coming out about failed abortions, and heavy amounts of lobbying came against the Senate to not pass this bill. When the vote came, the Senate had a tie vote. With this, abortion laws were stricken from the criminal code by the courts, and abortion was no longer illegal in Canada and had no restrictions. It would now be a measure for the courts. In 1990, this power was tested in the case of Tremblay versus Daigle. Tremblay and Daigle had been in a relationship in 1988, and soon she was pregnant. Jean-Guy Tremblay became abusive to his girlfriend while knowing she was pregnant. Daigle separated from his former flame and sought to have an abortion. Daigle felt that she only wanted to have a child in a stable environment and did not want to be a single mother. Tremblay tried to file an injunction against Daigle to have an abortion, as he felt she was doing it out of malice. However, Daigle had already gone to the United States to have an abortion. The Supreme Court took on the case, however, because they felt the verdict had some importance. This was the final battle of the pro-life and pro-choice camps, and pro-choice had won. The courts ruled that a fetus could not be considered a person, and that charges of murder could not possibly apply to a fetus. Today, abortions are available and paid for by the public health system. Prince Edward Island used to outsource their abortions to Nova Scotia because their doctors had moral concerns with completing them. In 2016, Prince Edward Island had its first doctor-assisted abortion.